Hey, everybody, and welcome to the 5th episode of Answer the Call and the second viewer call-in show. We had a lot of positive feedback from the first one. I would like to see us doing this permanently as a viewer call-in show. We'll see how they go and how many people we can get on a Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern time, and how good the topics are going to be going forward. So today's topic for Answer the Call is Star Citizen doing too much? Now, I think that's a really broad topic, so I'm going to take a few minutes. I'm going to explain to you what my thoughts are on about it and what I think is too much, what I mean by that. So, is Star Citizen doing too much? Star Citizen in 2012 was an ambitious project. And as the funding grew and grew and grew, some people call it feature creep, but I think it's Chris, fully realizing his vision of his dream video game, right? So he started bringing in procedural planets, lots of different technology that hasn't really been proven yet possible. In theory, a lot of it seemed possible, but not completely proven that it could be done. And trying to make the best damn space sim ever, right? We've heard that expression before. Is trying to make the best damn space sim ever going to make the best game experience ever? Is basically the question that I have to you. And I'm going to kind of give my opinions on the subject right now. And I'm going to give you some facts before we start that. And on August 11th, 2012, we hit the $3 million goal, kind of just after the Kickstarter, I think. And it states, citizens with appropriate packages will receive access to the Star Citizen universe with 40 star systems for persistent online play upon release. Okay? The $4 million goal, and this was accomplished $100,000 at a time, so 3.1, 3.2, 3.3. They added more star systems up to 50 star systems on release, and now a richer Squadron 42, more missions added. The $4.5 million goal, so every 500K, they were adding 10 star systems to the game. At 4.5 million, we hit 60 systems. At 5 million, we hit 70 systems and a tablet app to check your inventory. Okay? Now, at 6 million, we hit 100 systems. So 1 million, 30 more systems added to the game. 13 million, a command and control module for your ship. Seems pretty complicated to me. At 19 million, we would be able to manage space stations. And then kind of skipped all, they kind of, I think, started realizing after around 19 million that, in my opinion, maybe that the scope of the game was a little bit too large. So then when we hit 65 million is the first milestone that I see that might be a little going overboard again, and that's modular ships. So select ships with modularity. The Caterpillar, the Retaliator, some of those ships that they added modularity to. There's other ones that really doesn't matter, right? And then additional things is procedural planet tech, right? That was something that was just a little bit of R&D. They wanted to see how it would go, and now it's this amazing bit of tech that they've done. Zero loading screens in game wasn't really the goal the entire time. I remember hearing about jump points being a loading screen, basically, or the kind of cinematic landing down to a planet allowed the landing area, not the full procedural planet, because that didn't exist at the time, to be loaded in. Base over IP, maybe even a little bit of feature creep there. Fully simulated physics in an MMO, to me, seems crazy. Obviously, I'm not a game developer and things like that, but no other games do these things to this extent, and not in an MMO environment with hopefully hundreds, if not thousands of players in one area. These moving physics grids, the Hull series ships, right? In particular, with the spindle and the growing of the ship. And on top of that, the snub fighters, right? Kind of the same thing. Fully simulated star systems with rotations and all these things. The physics grids are the big one for me for recently, because we've seen the whole series ship get delayed. Fully simulated star systems are another one. We've heard them talk about the issue of traveling at and plotting where you want to go because of the way the objects in the star system move. So my main point is they decided they wanted to do great things. And I think that's why we all bought into Star Citizen, right? We all bought into Star Citizen because they were doing amazing things, and we wanted to see this game realized. But they spent a lot of time researching some things that I don't know if they were 100% sure of a solution to solving. And then the consequence is where we are now, where you get a lot of bad mouthing of the game. Is this game ever going to come out? Oh my God, that FPS is so bad. This game's a scam, blah, 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 so on, right? So there are definitely positives to the amount of time that they're taking, and the fact that they're researching and developing new tech, pushing the boundaries of gaming in general. But then there's also negatives. So, in my opinion, I feel like they are doing a bit too much. I think there's some things that they should be simulating. I think there's some things that they shouldn't be. And I think they should just do some hand wavium and make it look good, but lower the resource intensity on some things. You know what I mean? I've said this many times before. I bought into a space game. I didn't buy into a planetary, walk around on a planet game. Now, the procedural planets are amazing. It's groundbreaking. It's one of the coolest things I've been a part of in any video game, right? And that's where this is such a polarizing question, is we want things like procedural planets, but we want to play the game, and we want the game to be fully realized and fun and enjoyable, and we don't want them spending so much time, at least this is my opinion, not we. I don't want them spending so much time researching and developing when they could be making the game. You know what I mean? So it's tough. It's really tough on what do you want? What do we want? Do we want them to take all the time in the world, or do we want them to, for some things, like start pushing the game out? You know what I mean? So I'm going to bring in the first call. This is Sawyer, a good friend of the stream, and see what his opinion on this is. What's up, Sawyer? You're on Answer the Call, man.
Hey, man. Long time watcher, first time caller.
What's up, dude? So what are your thoughts?
Yeah. So overall, kind of disagree with you.
Okay.
Just because for what you're saying about just a space game, obviously they're doing too much with that. But when you look at it and what he's trying to achieve, trying to really just push the whole industry for video games forward. I mean, like you said about the physics grid and everything, nothing like that has never been done before. So when you see all this new technology coming in and the scale and everything like that, I think it can only be good for the entirety of video games.
Yeah. I mean, but do you feel that at some point it is too much, and when is it? Have we already crossed? Like, I feel that my opinion is we've crossed the it's too much point. And I feel that even Chris and CIG have felt that they've crossed the point. And I should have mentioned this earlier, but obviously we see the 100 systems at launch goal, $6 million, right? 6 million, they expect to have 100 systems at launch. But then they put procedural planets in, and that changed. And now they're not able to make that many systems at launch, and they're kind of telling us that with the Star Citizen CitizenCon Road to Release panel, not panel, but the keynote basically was, he talked about his 12 pillars, and when that 12th pillar comes in, that's when they would consider the game quote unquote released. You may not have the amount of star systems that you expected, so on and so forth. So even Chris is pulling back the reins, and even CIG, in my opinion, feels that they were doing too much. So, like, what are your thoughts about that?
And well, you can even see it back then when, you know, every month was looking for the new stretch goal, the new thing they're going to put in the game, and all of a sudden that just ended.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, when everyone there that was a realization, oh shit, we're doing too much.
Yeah.
But even now, it's like I can take a Connie, put a rover in it, or the Cyclone, or whatever, fly down to a planet, drive around the moon, drive around the entire moon, put it back in the Connie, drive to a different moon, drive all the way around if I want. So I remember back then I was like, oh god, this is going to be feature creep too much. But now I see it as like the ultimate adventure of video games, the ultimate pushing the boundaries, seeing what we can do, like what technology can come out of this. I mean, even just small things like VoIP or VoIP. How when we talk to each other in the game, it has that texture to it, that little bit of filter or whatever.
Which is amazing, yeah.
Yeah, it's just little things like that, and then you can zoom in on the carbon fiber on some things, and it looks like real carbon fiber. I mean, I got over the fact that I thought it was feature creep because now I'm just excited to see how far they're going to go.
So if they came across some new way of doing things, let's say a new way of jump points, or I don't know, maybe a new way of doing the ships where they would have to redo them, but it would look amazing and it would allow for additional new gameplay, but it would slow the development down of the game by another 2 years, which, like, maybe that, I'm just making an estimate that I feel that the bringing in of procedural planets, which is probably the biggest bit of creep that they did overall, but the absolute best thing that could have happened to this game overall, so like both the positive and the negative side, was that probably added an additional multiple years to the development of the game, right? To or at least not to the development of the game, maybe for them getting to their 12th pillar or whatever, but for them to hit that 100 star system goal or whatever we as a backer, when we back the game, expected from Star Citizen. Would you be okay with that because you want them to keep pushing the boundaries, or do you want them to focus on getting what they have now and making that nice and polished and fun and enjoyable, and then go into more R&D and expanding the scope of the game? Like, that's where I say, yes, they've done too much. And we're where we are now, and I feel like they have to keep going with what they have and how they're doing it. But, you know, it's definitely slowed down the game, and that's why I feel like it's been too much. So what do you, like, if they wanted to do more, what were your thoughts be on it?
As long as I keep going at the rate of refining right now, because even though I know V is pretty bad, we keep crashing and everything, but
but that's
if they keep going at this rate of they're adding in the stuff that they've already talked about. You can see the roadmap that the percent they're on. I think that as long as they keep working on the things they are and still add new things, I'm going to be okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I want them to keep pushing the envelope for the whole industry, because now people are going to have to, they're setting the bar, and people are going to have to raise themselves up to it if they're going to want to compete in this market.
That's true. And we see like CD Projekt Red, and I know it's just a single player game with Cyberpunk. We see X4 as well that are starting to see some of the really cool things that Star Citizen is doing and trying to do some of the same things. But and I'll leave you here, Sawyer, unless you have anything else you want to add. But I don't think anyone will attempt what Star Citizen is doing. Do you agree?
Well, the last thing is just we're going to have to wait and see if Star Citizen's a success or not, because if they are, everyone's going to have to match them. But if this ends up flopping or, turns into the scam, then obviously it's going to be a dead dream for a while, I think. Yeah.
And I just briefly looked over at chat and said, did he accuse CD Projekt Red of ripping off CIG? No. I think that companies are seeing that they can push the boundaries again, that they can go further, that they can develop space games, right? and things like that. And that's one of the positives of CIG taking the time and doing it the way that they were doing it, is now other companies can see that, we can do things like that also,
If they do it right.
Yeah, if they do it right. And up to this point, what's funny is they have done it right. They've physics grids was a big feature that came in and changed the game. Procedural planets changed the game. Base over IP, very cool. Changing role playing in games, maybe. And then maybe this fully simulated star system, object container streaming in the multiplayer experience, like all these things that maybe are too much, are also what defines the game and what is going to push maybe other games in the future. It's obviously great for gaming, but is it great for Star Citizen? Is it great for us? That's the real question.
We're just gonna have to wait and see, I think. But I'm cautiously optimistic that it'll be a good thing.
Okay. All right, Sawyer. Thank you for calling, man. I got Skyler in next, so I'm gonna bring him in. Hopefully, we'll see you on the next one.
See you.
Bye. All right. So the next caller in the line is Skyler. Skyler, welcome to answer the call. So, what are your thoughts on things?
Well, I think I disagree with you a bit.
Okay.
I think if they stick with what they have now and don't add anything more, they are just fine.
Okay. So you like even with the moving physics grids, like whole series ships being delayed completely, we don't know when. We saw even at CitizenCon the where they wanted to put accessories on people's heads and how they actually said this is impossible and put it down for a while and then came back to it and then figured it out. Like a lot, and that's a minor thing. So fully simulated star systems, all these crazy things, you think that in a reasonable amount of time, and this is for me what I mean by too much, in a reasonable amount of time, we will end up with at least a fraction of what we expected from the original kind of scope of the game, with multiple star systems to travel to, simulated economy, all those things. You think we're going to be okay? You're feeling positive about it?
Well, it depends how you define reasonable, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's relative.
I look at this from multiple angles, right? For example, like this, I think the increase of the scope is actually a good thing, because if they didn't do it, I probably wouldn't have backed the game by now, right?
Maybe.
Because I'm not a space sim player in the past, right?
Okay.
I didn't play space sims like at all. I really don't care about flying ships and shit. So
I think that's another thing too, right? Is the procedural planet and the ability to get out of your ship and explore, similar to a Skyrim experience, but on a giant scale. Like you get the RPG feel then, right? That you do in a lot of games, like a story-based RPG or something, right? Where now you're, as CIG and as Star Citizen, now you're pulling a whole nother market in. So there's another positive, along with the time it took and the difficulty of doing things like object container streaming with a procedural planet added, in there as well, because object container streaming isn't a piece of tech that is new, but it is crazy to do it. Apparently it's crazy to do it in an MMO environment, and I'm assuming it's crazy to do it with these procedural planets. But continue, my man.
I think the question there is, are these tech pieces necessary or not?
Yeah.
And I think they are.
Okay.
Because object container streaming especially is necessary in this game for performance, right?
Of course.
There are other pieces like the physics grid. The problem is if you don't, let's say, do it right, you always will accumulate a certain amount of tech debt you have to pay later, because shit won't work as easily.
Yeah.
And I think that the further the development goes of the game, the more that slows you down. If you get what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I always go back to is the procedural planets, because that was the one thing that bothered me the most. And again, I'm so happy they're in, and I love them.
It's cool,
it's cool. It's absolutely cool. But when I watched the demo of, and I don't remember when this was, I think it was like 2015 Gamescom. I think it was 2015 Gamescom, where they were debuting 2.0, and they were in a constellation, and they flew down to ArcCorp Area 18. And that was cool to me then. And that would still probably be, well, honestly, we would probably have a pretty working, built-out game to some extent if they went about it that way, where we had a planet that's big, but only certain locations that we can go to, and we have to choose from space where we want it to land, and then when we would be basically brought down with a cutscene almost to that landing area, like other Chris Roberts games, like Privateer, right? Very, very Privateer model. I love Privateer. A lot of us played those games. But then once you get down to the planet, you can move around. You can experience things on the ground just like you would have before. But you had a little bit of a loading screen to do it. I would have been okay with that. And then later on, once you've brought in so many people into the game, you do this big update. And you wait 2 years, the 2 years that we basically waited for procedural planets anyway. But you just wait for it later while you played a game that was fun. Now, again, this is coming from someone who is not a game developer. Is that something that's possible? Is it better to do it this way? Maybe. Most likely it is. I feel like CIG knows what they're doing. They're smarter than I am, that's for damn sure. And they went about it this way because maybe this way made more sense. You know?
I actually think that's the case, by the way.
Yeah.
I think if you have like gigantic tech hurdles, you want to tackle those early. Because if you realize it won't work with your current framework later on, you'll have to recode the entire game, and that takes ages.
Which is basically what happened for 3.0, I'm guessing.
Yeah, and that's
right.
Only with the amount of stuff they had in until that point. Imagine they had already built the entire game.
That's a very good point. Yeah. Okay.
And one more thing, I think games these days reuse tech too much.
Reuse tech too much, you mean? Like what other people have done?
Yes, there is very little R&D going on. Like if you look at most of the games that use these licensed engines, like Unity, like Unreal, right? I mean, just bad example maybe, but look at PUBG, right? They use Unity, I think.
They use Unity, yeah.
Look at how much issues they have with performance and network performance.
Yeah.
These engines are great in certain aspects, but they have their limitations.
Oh, everyone's saying Unreal, but whatever. Yeah.
Unreal?
Yeah.
Is it really Unreal? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I always group these together because they actually have similar issues in that regard. They have issues. They do some stuff really well, but they have issues in other areas, and most of the time that's performance with a lot of people on screen, or networking, or both.
Yeah.
Like in PUBG, there was like a tournament, right? Well, it was like a tournament where they made a melee only mode, and everyone was driving around in cars because that's the optimal way to play the game at that point, right?
Yeah.
And it was like the performance was dipping like crazy because they had like 60 vehicles in a small area. And especially in I mean, yeah, sure, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, but some things just don't work in the scope you want. And you always have to band-aid them.
Yeah, and Star Citizen would need much cloth for their band-aids that it makes more sense to reinvent it.
It even happened with Star Citizen, right? Because they used the CryEngine, and look how much of the engine is left at that point.
I mean, it doesn't even... I imagine it looks nothing like it did before, especially now that they've added object container streaming and things like that, right?
And I also think some of the tech you think it's unnecessary, like you have to look at what else has to be done and if that's necessary, right? Because like the major tech hurdles, like object container streaming, like server meshing, these will take a long time.
Yes.
Still.
Of course.
Right? I mean, I know a game that actually does something similar to server meshing at this point already, but so I have seen it working, right? So I know
I see lots of games that have server meshing.
I'm not sure if it's actually the same.
Maybe it's not, but I mean, like, even a game like, I mean, Ultima Online, way back in the day, there were server lines that you had to cross, and there was no loading screen. I mean, maybe it was a quick load or whatever.
Can you actually see people on the other server and shoot them and talk to them and all?
Yes.
Okay, I actually don't know. I never played Ultima.
Yeah, I mean, and this was a game that was in 1997 it came out. And yeah, I mean, you could stand on one side and you can communicate with each other and you could hit each other. It's just when you cross that server line, other things loaded in, I guess. You could feel it, but it would be a quick load, but yeah.
But yeah, you know, like this game exists, right?
Yeah.
So, but the problem is it will still take a long time to implement. And why would you like gimp the progress of other areas at that point? I mean, you have the time anyways, right?
Yeah.
Because
now the question is, do they have the time? That's another thing. Is do they have the time?
Employees, so.
Well, they have enough employees, but when has it been too long? Like, again, one of the things that we're run into now, and we definitely have two other callers, so I'm going to let you go in a second. But the one of the things right now is that CIG and Star Citizen gets laughed at a lot, but as every time they do something, what's that?
That would have happened regardless. That's entire separate issue in my opinion.
Well, yeah, just because the development's so open, right? They probably would get laughed at when things are buggy, but it's really bad right now. They're kind of, anytime you talk about Star Citizen and anybody is hurt. Well, yeah, that's true. But the thing is would they need to have done the ship prices for this long if the scope was a little bit smaller? No, I don't think so. That's my opinion on it. But the big thing is when they do achieve these goals, how long will it be, and will it be too late? And I don't know if it ever will be, because when they do achieve the goal, everybody's like, holy shit, you guys see what Star Citizen just did? You know what I mean? So like when they showed procedural planets, the amount of insanity that was around Star Citizen was amazing. The people were coming in to check it out like no other. And obviously the implementation of 3.0 wasn't the greatest, but the actual coming down and landing on a planet was mind-blowing to people. And as this tech comes online, hopefully for me, that's where I'm like, I love this question because I think it is polarizing, and I don't necessarily think that they're doing too much, but at some point, even they thought that they were doing too much, and I thought it would be a great discussion topic. But yeah, I mean, I think if they achieve their goals, and kind of the issue that I have with it is I think they're doing maybe too much R&D, and they do need to do a lot of it, but maybe they're doing a little bit too much, and we do see it on ATV and RTV sometimes when they talk to the developers, and the developers don't know necessarily what they can and cannot say, and sometimes they spill the beans a little bit, where they basically say, well, we haven't even researched that, or we don't have a solution for that, and we'll get to it, you know? And it's that's where I came up with this question and was like, I think they're doing too much, because they don't even know the solution for us. Like the last time we heard, they don't have a solution for us jumping to another system. That's a very, very important thing for the game. And it is 5 years in and you don't have a solution for it yet. That's when I was like, well, maybe they are doing too much. And then at what point do you scale back?
I mean, they might just not have the solution right now because they don't think it will be that hard to do.
That's not. They specifically said that it is a major feat and will be very difficult on an RTV.
I didn't see that, but
the Clive guy that was on talking about OCS, he also spoke about that, And in the YouTube video, I'll try and look for it, guys, and maybe I'll put a link in the YouTube video. Okay, I don't have it in front of me right now, though.
Let me answer the question of when it is too much.
Yeah.
Real quick, and then I go.
Okay.
I think it will be too much once all the major tech that they need. So I think it's only really persistence and server meshing at this point. But who knows how long that's taking, right?
Well, whatever the 12 pillars are, right? So the guild,
whatever the stuff they really
mentioned
need to make the game work at this point. So once these are in and they still add to it, I think then it's too much.
Okay. I think that's a fair point. And I agree with you.
Because I think they will need that time anyways, right? So they might as well spend the resources they have, right?
Yep.
So
I think it was already too much for the original scope of the game, but now this is the scope. This is the scope of the game. Yeah. This is the scope of the game. Exactly. And we're relatively happy with it, right?
I think so, yeah.
At the very least. So we are where we are now, and if they add more, you would be pretty bummed out. Okay. That sounds fair. All right, Sky, I'll let you go. Thank you so much for calling, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it was nice to be here.
Have a good weekend. All right, and the next guy is Terminator. Hey, Terminator, you're on Answer the Call.
Hey, how are you, Twerk?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
So what are your thoughts, man?
All right, so I'm going to give you a little bit of background before I get into this. So I actually backed the game all the way back in October 2012.
Okay, so that's Kickstarter?
The very beginning. That's Kickstarter when Chris went on the GDC stage and presented his vision of what the game's going to be. I immediately backed because, I had played Wing Commander, I had played Freelancer, and I was a huge fan.
Yep, and this was like Freelancer next. That's what I saw it as.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I saw it as well. It was like, this is Freelancer on steroids, and it's modernized, and it's going to be amazing.
Which is great. We all wanted that.
Yeah. And then for the next maybe 3-4 years, I was the biggest evangelical for this game, man. I was telling all my friends, everybody about it. I was telling my mom about it. I was telling everybody about this. Like, I was telling everyone about Star Citizen and how it's going to be so realistic and how it's going to have systems. But I don't know. Somewhere between then and now, I've just lost interest in the game in the sense that, yes, they have done too much. Because what I backed, or at least the vision that I backed for, is not what they're aiming to do anymore. And that's not saying that it's a bad thing.
Exactly.
But it's just saying, like, come on, people, someone like me who has a full-time job, I don't have much time to game. I don't have time to go in and wait 45 minutes to get on a buggy server. Like, I just want to play the game.
Yeah, but to be fair, this isn't the game that, like, right now, the environment that you're in isn't meant to be the game that you backed either, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm 100% with that. It's just that this deviation from what was originally supposed to be the game is, as I said, it's both good and bad. It's good for gaming, but here's a question for you. Do you think something like this will ever happen again in game?
As in the open development, the Kickstarter thing?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think so. I think so many people... Yeah, well, and definitely not at this scale. I mean, a game that I speak a lot about on stream is Albion Online. That was a Kickstarter game. And it's a pretty big undertaking and a pretty big game. But will anybody do it to the level of Star Citizen with I don't know. I don't think anybody can market the way they did, because Star Citizen was a perfect storm where you have people like you and me. When we were kids, we fell in love with a game called Wing Commander. We played Privateer. I didn't play Freelancer until recently because I didn't even know it existed. But Star Citizen was the perfect storm in the sense that we were in love with Chris Roberts games. We could play them over and over again, and the nostalgia brought us in, and we also have jobs where we make a lot of money, right? Where we're adults now. Most adults make a lot more money than when we were kids and we had to ask our mom for $20 to go buy a video game or whatever they costed then. You know what I mean? And that was like the most important thing to us. So now you dreaming about your $900 endeavor and what space weed or what, animal from this planet fertilizer you're going to put on that $900 ship that you worked really hard for at your job. And now this is what your hobby and this is what you want to spend your money on. I don't think any game could do something like that. I don't think anybody could do anything like that to touch on those feels, because there's not many. Yeah. It was the perfect storm,
Absolutely. Like, personally, I was never someone who would like pre-order games or
I don't either.
Do this. I never did that, but for this game specifically, I was willing to put in $60, and I think I've spent maybe plus like the mouse pads like $200-$300. I'm not one of those people who spends like thousands of dollars on virtual products.
But still, that's significantly more than any other game that you would normally, right?
I do. I absolutely get it. And that I think still it's part of this intro telling you that, I am someone who believes in Chris and I am someone who believes in this game. But at the same time, it's bittersweet for me.
Yes.
Because sure, this game is has demonstrated that crowdfunding can be achieved. But at the same time, it has dug its own grave. Like, it has dug the grave of crowdfunding for games at this level,
at this
every
scale,
other game in the world.
Yeah.
Because nobody's ever going to attempt anything like this ever again. Because there have been like things from a game design perspective that have been leaps forward.
Hell
but
yeah.
At the same time, there have been PR near disasters. There have been, this constant kind of, it's like a tug of war between the haters. And it's just something that if a publisher was to, be told, invest in this, or maybe like not even a publisher, like an investor, like, a game like Kingdom Come Deliverance that had an investor who would be brought into a game of this scale, they're never going to say yes. They're never going to approve it. So Star Citizen, being a pioneer that it is, at the same time, it's never going to be. It's kind of closed the door on this behemoth that it is. It came in. It's like, I'm the big boss. I'm gonna do this in a completely different way, and no one's ever allowed to do it again.
It's true.
So if that doesn't answer the question, is Star Citizen doing too much? I don't know what else does.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. I mean, the big thing is you see the way they are so concerned about the language that they say now and the things that they say, because they don't want to hear the angry mob. And in the end, the angry mob really isn't anybody that matters. It's probably a very vocal minority where most of us get upset about certain things that they do, but we still believe in the project. Like I always come off as like the negative Nancy or whatever, like, but a lot of the time, like, I come up with these topics and come up with these points to create a discussion. And I'm very, like, I believe in Chris as well. I'm very much, like, you and I are on very much the same page where I believe in Chris. This is not the game that I backed, but the game that's coming is also really cool. I just hope that they achieve even half of their goals for the game. And it should be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. But I think, I still think, even though like I'm someone who, I wouldn't say I'm as big of a fan of, or let me rephrase that. I'm not following Star Citizen as I once used to. I'm not watching every single piece of media that's coming out of them that I was doing like 3 or 4 years. But at the same time, I'm not someone who's like a hater who's saying it's not going to work. But I still think there's a group of people who's sitting somewhere in between the middle and kind of the angry mob who does have a legitimate concern, because they did back, and they when they backed, the game was being sold and marketed as a certain thing, and now it's not. And I think that's an absolutely legitimate concern. I think they're still probably going to play the game once it eventually comes out, whatever that means.
Yeah.
But I still do empathize with them, and I feel that people who are being critical, for the majority of them, or for most of the people that I've spoken with, it seems that it's coming from like a good place. They want the game to succeed. They want it to be out. They want to kind of show everybody that, this is a great game. Chris Roberts is a great game developer who's going to take us places.
Absolutely.
And one more thing with the I know the speaker you spoke with before, he was talking about procedural planets and server meshing, but like I think that the technology for procedural planets, the way we see it in Star Citizen, it was done like in 2010. I think there's a studio called Inova Studios, and they put out a demo. Yeah, they've put out a demo in 2010 of like a one-to-one size planet. They were landing from space. There was no loading screens. I think what took Chris and RSI time was rechanging everything.
It's
Like,
called
if they
Infinity
came out-
Battlescape, that game. That's what I was saying in
Yeah,
chat. That's where I recognize it from. But they're very much like CIG, where their game's only in alpha, plenty buggy, and no scope
also
for
actually
release.
They changed what they initially were talking about, right?
Yeah.
Initially, it was a different game, and they had to cut down themselves. But what I'm saying is, if Star Citizen came out saying, "Look, we're trying out this new open-ended model where we don't know what we're gonna make. We would love your money so we could make it, but we don't know what we're gonna make. And we're taking you on this journey with us. We know for a fact that the game's going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, like trading, economy, ships, but we don't know where it's going to take us."
Yeah.
If they had come out and said something like that, which is, I think, actually a safer option, all things considered. If you think of Chris in 2012 pitching this complete game, selling it as this big, high fidelity option, that is a riskier approach than saying, "Look, I don't really know what I'm going to be making, but it's going to be close to my previous games." If he took the safer approach, I think we would be in a much better place, at least from a public relations perspective.
Yeah.
So again, for me, it's bittersweet. I think they are definitely doing too much. I know there's probably more callers, so I'm just going to wrap up and shout out to my buddy Shep, and thanks for having me, Tor.
No problem, buddy. Thanks for coming on. All right, Terminator. Hopefully we'll see you next time. I'm going to bring in Cayman now. Cayman, you're on Answer the Call. Welcome, bud.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Big fan of this stream. Thank you for having me.
Anytime, man. Thank you.
So I backed in 2015. I had no idea who Chris Roberts was before any of this, and I didn't play any of his prior games. And
Okay.
I'm not generally a space game fan. I also don't play the alpha, but I do follow the development pretty closely. So I came in well after the initial Backstarter pitch, and I think this skews my perspective a little bit, especially from what I've heard with the previous callers and a lot of the backers who've backed a long time before me.
Okay.
But I followed before the 2015 period. Like, I looked at all of the older town halls, a lot of the legacy information, and I was really taken aback by procedural planets. That's when I kind of dropped money into the project.
I think a lot of
And
people
I-
did then as well.
Yeah, I really liked the video, how they explained the tech behind it. It just captured me. I was on board at that. So anyway, my research, based on my research, it's my understanding that the backers voted for scope expansion to some extent. That CIG basically reached out to the backers, asked them if they wanted the scope expansion.
But
And
hold on,
there
let me
was some-
interrupt you there just a little bit. I don't know if you were there when they did that. It was a vote, but it was one of those votes where you can't say no to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was
it's
kind
like,
of a
hey guys,
contrived
we
poll,
got all
yeah.
this money. We're gonna make the game really good, best damn space sim ever, right? And it wasn't really more along the line of this is gonna delay it by many years. The tech that we're doing is very complicated. We're not sure exactly the solutions. Blah 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 blah. Which is kind of where we hear it's gone. So, to be fair, yes, we all voted for the game to grow in scope, but we also we're not game developers, so we didn't know what that actually meant. You know what I mean?
I understand. I
But-
understand. I don't
But
want it to
continue, I'm
be-
sorry.
Yeah, I don't want it to be interpreted as if I'm trying to shift the blame of what happened with feature creep on the backers.
Okay.
I just wanted to throw in that context of me being aware of that
Fair enough.
detail. I think we can both agree, at least most of us can agree, that the significant shift in the original design concepts basically we're at a point now where at the time where the original stretch goals were pitched, the definition of a lot of these design concepts weren't where they are now.
Yep.
It's a weird situation where basically now they're in a situation where a lot of those design concepts are virtually impossible for them to accomplish as a minimum viable product. But I don't see them launching with 100 planets, for instance, or 100 star systems, for instance.
Not even Chris does at this point.
Yeah, I just don't see any of that happening. So a lot of that stuff has changed. The ship modularity, while that's going to be in spirit, maybe in a few ships here and there, it's not going to be an across the board thing anymore. They're very clearly going in a direction where they're specializing their store or specializing ships in order to continue to push them as products in their store. So, there's a concession that needs to be made there too. And I think it's difficult for them to reconcile that.
Personally, what's funny is yes, that's probably the reason, but I also think the specialization of ships will create a better gameplay experience as well. So it's kind of a win-win in my opinion. It's just really you got to cringe at the prices of them. That's really what it ends up being is nobody spends this much money on a video game. But like I said earlier, it's kind of like a perfect storm thing where we're where we are and we love what it is for whatever reason,
Yeah, we've come to a point where we've accepted it. And
yeah.
I mean, people now even talk about ships in the context of, oh, is it worth this much money? Well, we have this here at the $200 tier. It's kind of insane if you think about it in any other game or context, how, these virtual items, many of them not even exist as actual products, are valued as much as they are. But it does show you the faith that the backing community has. And I don't want to just say faith. I mean, I think that they've really demonstrated a lot. And that kind of brings me into some of my points, which is I think that scrapping any of their major plant tech or any of their R&D would be disastrous for them PR-wise because they set up expectations. We've reached a point now where I don't think it's wise for them to recess from their R&D pace. I think that it's safe to say that Chris Roberts intends to have CIG be a long-term player in the development space. He clearly wants this to be a big company that continues to make games. So I see continued R&D as both a necessity to satisfy the expectations they've set, and also as a necessity to continue to build the long-term platform they're trying to build.
Do you think Star Citizen is the next Blizzard? Or CIG?
I don't know. I don't think any of us can really say that for certain, but I think that whatever it is they're planning on doing is huge.
Yeah.
What they've done so far is huge, and it's going to have a big footprint in the industry now moving forward, and it has really. But it also comes with its problems. The open development is a big challenge. I think Aliciana in the chat, she's also a redacted content creator, and I follow her content. I love her. She commented earlier that the bug fixing, basically she talked about how the bug fixing patch cycle inevitably follows a major content drop like 3.0 or in this case 3.3.
Yep.
So basically after they do a big content drop, there's a huge wave of bug fixing that has to occur, and it kind of delays basically anything else that they have going on. I think there's, because of that, certainly reason to be concerned about the pace of the alpha in the aggregate, like what's going to happen over the next 2 years, because every single major content drop, every profession, every major piece of tech or design concept that they implement will be slowed down by trying to polish it as part of their polished public build philosophy, like them trying to make a playable public build, not necessarily P2, but a public build.
Yeah, I mean, even devs that have been in this chat, when they first decided that they were going to the 3-month patch cycle, that half of it, or the 3-month patch cycle, so quarterly patches, that and that they would spend time on feature additions to the game, and then after that bug fixing, that they were concerned that it's would slow the development of the game down, and it definitely has. But overall, I think it's better long term for the game in becoming like. There's no way that they would, if they kept things the way 3.0 was, where it was very shallow and very buggy, and there just wasn't much to do. And if they didn't continue to add content to the game, I don't know if they would continue to get funding for the game. And that has to be a goal of theirs. They need to get funding for the game.
Absolutely. That's an excellent point. The fact, and I absolutely agree, is the fact that that's part of the strategy now. That's part of what they need to do. It's required that they polish and try as best they can to make the different public builds of the alpha playable, because it's part of their marketing. It's inherent to their business. It's what they have to do. And I think that in so many ways, the project is unique. It's unique as a backstarter record. It's unique in terms of what it's doing in the MMO space. The 90% AI design, I think, is absolutely brilliant. It's one of the things that I think...
That's why I bought into the game. That's what sold me, actually, to the game, is the style that they were doing the economy.
Yeah, absolutely. The fact that they're putting the economy and combat largely... Basically, the design intent is such that most of that is going to be dominated. I don't know if that's the proper word, but it's definitely going to be AI driven. Players will have influence, but the influence will be limited. I think
we don't know exactly yet, right? But
I think just the higher level ideas that Tony Zurovec and Chris Roberts, but particularly Tony Zurovec, explained even years ago really drew me onto the project. And seeing kind of the early stages of that, seeing what they're doing with their production tools, seeing the pace that they've made has given me enough evidence to believe that they're capable of continuing on and meeting some sort of standard, some sort of, amazing product, even as a minimum viable product. I think it's obvious at this point that 2019 will be a huge design push for them. They have a lot of design problems to solve. But again, given the pace of their production tools and the tangible achievements they've made with implementing major tech like procedural planets and tier 0 OCS that's coming in, I see those challenges as more design related than tech related. So it'll be less about we can't solve this because of a tech problem and it's delaying us, and more of a we need to put our top men, if you will, on this to make it fun. So that's really the challenge for them. Building it, making it fun as a concept, making it fun as a gameplay experience, and then putting their engineers on it so that it's not buggy as hell.
Yeah, I mean, that's been... I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's fine, go ahead.
I was going to say, that's since Arena Commander at one point in time was incredibly fun, but then it obviously got stale after a little while, and once you got 2.0, and we had the mini start of Star Citizen, that's been the issue the entire time. Was it was the design problem of it being fun. It was just never fun enough. And now you're bringing in OCS, which is like you said, is a tech thing, but it's actually a design thing because it's what is making the game fun. The game has been fun for a while. We just couldn't enjoy it, Yeah. But all right, let me let you go, Cayman, because I actually have one more call. I was going to end it with you, but somebody popped in late, so we're going to let him in. I really thank you for calling. I think it's a lot of people that came on were long-term backers and that actually play and follow and everything, and it's nice to see the different take from your side of things, so I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you for having me.
Bye. All right, and then we have Sunday of Doom that just popped in, one of the moderators who's been helping out. So first off, Sunday, thank you for screening all the calls and everything. And what are your thoughts on everything?
Well, first time caller, long time memer. I've been a backer also since Kickstarter.
Okay.
But I wanted to answer, or at least to discuss this question as well as the question you just posed. Is this the next Blizzard?
Yeah.
And this question will possibly answer the question, is Star Citizen doing too much? And that is, remember when we were watching one of the sitcoms, I can't remember what it was. It was the one where we saw the city building tools.
That was not this past CitizenCon, but last year. So the one in Germany? The one in Germany? 2017?
Yeah, I think. Yeah. Well, imagine using those tools to create a Star Citizen skyline.
Oh, like city skylines?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. So what you're thinking is that they can take the Star Citizen IP and go. I mean, you can make if RTS games were still popular, you know, you can make an RTS game, right?
Yeah.
So you're thinking that they could take the IP further rather than just make a whole new genre with the tech that they've created.
Well, yeah, or even not even doesn't even have to be the same IP, but the new R&D stuff they made to create Star Citizen, they could use the stuff that they R&D'd to create new games like city builders, or even for the fleet management, they can make a fleet art or something like that.
Yeah, it could. Yeah, that's not a bad point. Okay, so that goes along like, will they be the next Blizzard? But then, I mean, I hope they're not personally thinking about any of that stuff right now. Maybe long-term goals, sure. But obviously the main focus has to be 100% on Star Citizen and Squadron 42 right now. And as much as like I loved Wing Commander and all those things, I really am looking forward to Squadron 42. The trailer was really exciting, but I want all the focus on Star Citizen. I just, the game has so much potential. You know what I mean? It's nuts.
I agree.
But yeah, what do you think? Do you think they're doing too much?
Well, I think they're doing, even though it feels like it's a bit too much, I think they're doing just the right amount, because if they get everything, because a lot of stuff is either stuff that people haven't figured out fully or just is completely new. If they get this right, not only will they solve the issues of a lot of other games can never do and get like Star Citizen running just the way we want it, but they also, like you said before, like, is this an next Blizzard? They could have tools right from the get-go to make new games right after they're done, like the Star Citizen Live, whatever Live Gold they have.
Yeah, whatever they call the release, yeah. But yeah, okay. I mean, it's weird. I'm so like torn. I'm in between. I feel like they've done too much, but we are where we are now, and we got to keep pushing. But we don't have to keep pushing towards more additional things like this new. Oh, we found out this new tech. We found out this new thing. Let's add it to the game. Like, I don't think Chris will get the same overwhelming, like Cayman said, where the backers were overwhelmingly cool with them raising the scope of the game. If he came to the game and came to us, and said, guys, there's this new tech. I want to do this new thing. I'm so excited. We want to change the scope of the game and raise it even further. I think that they would actually get overwhelmingly backlash this time. And that's where I think it kind of proves where I'm saying that maybe they've done too much, is that I don't think they can do any more than what they're doing right now, because it's already crossed the line. And I don't think the community would be okay with it anymore. And that's why I thought that this would be like a decent topic to discuss, you know?
It really was.
Yeah. So I'm happy with it. But Sunday, do you have anything else to add?
Nope, that's it.
All right, man. So I'll push you into the green room. Thank you for stopping in. And thank you so much for your help as always.
No worries.
All right, bye, man. All right, guys. Well, I think that pretty much does it for Answer the Call. We try to keep this at 30 minutes, and it never is. I think there's just, when you have a good topic and you have people that have opinions that are good, I think it was, you just have to keep going. I wasn't going to cut anybody off. I definitely got some feedback over on last week's podcast with Noob that maybe I was being a little bit too interrupty. I tried to let everybody speak and get their opinions across and not cut them off too much and not try and cut their calls down. I want them to really get what they wanted to say and at least respond to some of the things they said. But I want you guys to keep coming with that feedback on the YouTube comments. And there's a Discord channel in our Discord about feedback. So keep giving that there. I hope you guys enjoyed Answer the Call again. And yeah, I guess I'll do the normal YouTube stuff at the end. If you guys like this video, hit that like button, please. Share this wherever you can. Share this with your friends. I think this is a really cool, new, interesting format to things. It gives you guys a voice where I think a lot of the time content creators have too much of a voice. And just people who enjoy the game don't have enough of them, and I want to give you guys a voice if we can, you know? So I think it's a really nice, new, interesting format, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Leave a comment below. What do you guys think? I want to hear what you guys think. Is Star Citizen doing too much? Are they doing just enough? Are they doing too little, maybe? And make sure you hit that subscribe button if you want more content like this in the future. All right? So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.